We got to get
Birdman hand rub.
Tracy. We got to get Tracy and Heaven like to reunite and come on our show because I just need them. I just need them to share like at least an air horn or two to bless our our show in the future.
Mhm.
So if you're listening, Tracy Clayton and Heaven Nagatu, we love y'all and we would love to have you here on our pod.
Yes. Yes. Tracy gave me a shout out. Oh, well, that was kind of generated by me, but she gave me a shout out on Twitter a couple years ago because I was dressed as a pack of birth control pills.
Ooh, that's
That was fun.
wonderful. Why did I never see
Yeah,
that?
because it was years ago.
Ooh,
It was like
I should have seen
5
it.
years ago at this point.
I should have seen it years ago.
Mm. Hey fam, and welcome back to another week of the Good Black Podcast. So we're just gonna jump right in because it's been a minute. But what's been going on with you lately, Gant? What's happening?
So, I mean, we've talked about this in season 1. Oh. I saw it. I saw that was super loud. Yeah, so we talked about this in season 1. Summertime is heck. The summertime is the pits. It is crazy town for me. And that's just the nature of my work and like timing and et cetera. So summertime is heck for me. So that's what delayed us getting back into season 2. But overall, life is going well. I'm feeling good today. I cannot speak for any day outside of today. I recently bought this book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. And so I am really trying to sit with that advice and really kind of center myself in the present and just focusing on what's happening right here, right now in this moment, keeping myself from being worried about things that are beyond my control or beyond my ability to do anything about, which is the past. So trying to be right here in the present, in the moment, be grateful, enjoy my life, and have a good time.
So basically, like that's above me now. I'm not
Basically,
about to worry.
every single thing, every random thing that comes to my mind, it's above me now. It is above me now. I am behind your Best Western counter in my mind, telling you hands in the air, it's above me now. Yes. So how about you? How is life? How are things?
Life has been good. It's been interesting. Since our last recording, there's been lots of work, of course, a little bit of travel, definitely lots of dancing, even a little bit of performing and stepping out of what I thought was my comfort zone and finding a new comfort zone for myself as far as dance spaces go. And yeah, I feel like I'm in this transition point, or I've been preparing for my next season of creativity. And, with that, hopefully laying some foundation so that I can move into some teaching roles for like childbirth education and dance workshops. So laying some foundational or groundwork for that. But life has been good. It's been something that I could write a book off of. I'll say that, or at least write another chapter off of, because people have told me plenty of times I need to write a book. So it's been a new chapter in the making. But yeah.
Pew, 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 pew. You heard it first here on the Good Black Podcast.
One day, I'll write my memoirs.
Yeah. So yeah, all the things. Life is happening. I think we are all, just it's one day at a time, one foot in front of the other one. And, it's all happening. It's all beautiful and ugly in its own way. And, you get from one day to the next.
But those days are like running together and also so far apart and fast at the same time. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like thinking back to when we were kids, it felt like it would take 2 years to get through one entire year. And now I feel like I'm running through these joints in like 3 months. Like I feel like it was just January or it was just March and I was having a significant conversation. And here we are in the final quarter of a calendar year. And I mean, this month is already, flying by. I've got plans for the end of the year. And like, that's right around, it feels like it's right around the corner. So I don't know, the older you get, the faster time moves, but each day still feels like it kind of drags. Kind of.
Which is the craziest combination. That's so true. I
Yeah.
literally just had this conversation with with a coworker of mine, but she's a few years younger than me, and this was a little while ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And we were just having that conversation, and she was like, "I just feel like things are moving so fast in a way that I don't expect." And I was like, "How old are you?" She was like, "I'm 20. I just turned 25." I'm like,
That's
"That's
cute.
about when it
That's
hits."
precious. That's
I was like,
precious.
that's about when it hits. I mean, like, I
Mm.
have just noticed that, and I remember hearing somebody a little bit older than me talk about that a little while ago. It was a couple of years ago, a good little while ago, saying like how they feel like life is just moving so much faster as
Hmm.
you get older. And I was like, that is so interesting. And it is, I've just found it to be super true. It, in what you said exactly, it feels like the overall time is moving faster, but the day by day kind of drags.
Hmm.
You look up and realize how much further you are into your life or into a year or whatever, whatever time it is, that you are. And it's like, what is disorienting
Yeah.
sometimes to really think about it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm
So
at.
I get that. I get that. So that is real. So, all right. Well, then let's slide on into this week's Family Feud.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. So, welcome to the Family Feud. This is our segment where we discuss relevant topics, pains, lessons, growth, and general moments of blackety black family, and also obviously adulting while black, which is what we do now. So this week we are doubling back to something we talked about in season one, which is just the topic of things that no longer serve us. Obviously, you continue to grow and you continue to identify things that no longer serve you or work for you or support you in the current version of who you are trying to be or where you are trying to be. And, obviously we are all becoming the black adults that we want to be. And, this topic allows us to really delve into the stuff that we are letting go, the things that we are leaving behind. And we also just wanted to dive into it a little bit deeper than we did the first time. So, that being said, Jade, what is the first thing that you are letting go that no longer serves you?
My first one is the politics of beauty and internalized anti-blackness that
Say
shows
that.
up in Eurocentric beauty standards and fat phobia. Um,
Mm.
I I have been a thick person my entire life. And for my entire life, I've been in a constant battle with myself about my body. At
Mm.
different points in time, I was smaller, but I was still thick. I have never not been thick. Um, and how I have shown up in spaces and how I've seen my own body has continued to be a pain point. It's, something I feel like I'm exploring now more than ever in therapy, just because I'm putting myself out there on a public stage, literally more than I have before, um, with my adult understanding of how the world works and how cruel people can be. Um,
Mm.
I did a video that went viral. This was when everybody was doing the Don't Rush challenge back in like sometime in 2020. Um, and you would start like with the Don't Rush challenge, you would start out and you were like plain Jane or Joe or whoever. And then, your camera would flip or your camera would flip and then you would be all glammed or dolled up or whatever the theme for your video and group of people was. So I did one called the Brick House Edition with other plus size or big bodied pole dancers. And we specifically did this because we didn't see anybody else that looked like us doing this challenge. And the fact that, most of us were women of color, we do have bigger bodies and we pole dance. And so, of course, a lot of people gave a lot of love to that video. And other people had some very questionable and sometimes downright cruel things to say. And of course, they wrap it up in concern for our health. It's BS. It's BS.
Yeah.
It, feeds into fat phobia. It feeds into weaponizing the health and wellness industry. It feeds into Eurocentric beauty standards. Those things no longer serve me. I have never been a waif thin white woman. I will never be a waif thin white woman, nor do I want to be. And so it's had such a chokehold on me for so long, and it's supported my own internalized anti-blackness, that I'm ready to let that go. I'm doing what I need to do to let that go. And just being so proud of what my body can do, and acknowledging what it can't do and acknowledging what it is not and will never be, and being okay with that. And not even just being okay with that, being happy with what I'm able to do, being happy. I mean, I've always loved the fact that I've had this brown skin, but I don't know if, no, I do know I haven't always loved every piece that this brown covers. And I'm letting go of, that thing that no longer serves me, because it's kept me from doing a lot of interesting or cool things, I think. And I'm ready to stop hiding. I'm ready to stop apologizing for my mere existence. Like I said, I've always been a thick girl. I will continue to be a thick girl. And now, more so than ever, I am loving and learning to love all parts of my thickness, all parts of how I walk into a room, all parts of how I command attention with my presence, and not backing away from that. I'm already on my soapbox, but let me let me just take it down a notch. But yeah, that's what I'm letting go of. That's something that no longer served me, and was really harmful to myself and, how I would judge other people. I'm gonna just be real honest with that. Like, when I say my internalized anti-blackness, it wasn't just, how I thought of myself. It's what I would look out and see, and how I would judge other people's bodies, especially Black women. And I want to let go of that. I'm letting go of that. I'm doing the work to let go of that, because it has no place. It has no home here. It's never had a home here. But, for whatever, because of the larger society that we live in and the white dominant narrative, unfortunately, I was just one of the many victims of that. But I encourage everyone else out there to release that as well. Really examine what that looks like and how it shows up, and let it go, because it's harming you too. Yes. Yes.
Wow. Bars. and bars we I wish you didn't have to drop. Especially in like recent landscape of, like this year, just like so much commentary, just, even if we were only talking about Lizzo, like, somebody like that who's experiencing constant commentary on her body, regardless of what she is doing. Her name is
always in somebody's mouth.
Minding her own Black business.
Minding her own, as she said, her own fat Black business.
Period.
Leave her alone.
Yes, like your inability to live but also like the way that translates to regular people, specifically women, like having to go and have constant commentary on your body by your aunt who doesn't know better than to keep her opinions to herself, or whatever the case might be. So I want to elevate that and amplify that. Like I thank you for being vulnerable too, because that's something to share.
Yeah. Hopefully my journey and my story can help others, so you don't have to go through almost 35 years of having to combat this, because it's tiring. It's tiring. I just want to live. I just want to be naked and unashamed, like I was when I was in Greece over the summer. I was naked.
Ooh, Greece.
And I enjoyed it.
Greece give me like a shoulder shimmy.
My bare behind was in the Aegean Sea. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And that's what we all hope for. We are all hoping for that level of freedom. And, hopefully you all shake off the chains of oppression. And
twerk the chains off. Twerk them off.
Just like you mentioned, a couple episodes ago, like, the unzipping from the Wiz.
Yes.
And like all of that. Like, like that holds us down, like in so many ways. So I love.
And also that doesn't belong to us. That doesn't belong to us. That's another tactic to oppress us. That's not ours. Take that off. That don't belong to you.
That's the one. That's the one. That's not yours. Put that down. Whew.
But
I
what
got to let
is
that one
your
settle.
first? Yeah. Check. But what is what's one thing that you're letting go of or that, no longer serves you?
Whew. So something that no longer serves me. I hope I didn't say this season one, but people pleasing. I feel like I'm in a better place with it. I hope it's not what I said season one, but I'm saying it out again season two. Is that people pleasing? First of all, is whack. That does not, like you just said, like that doesn't belong to me. That is something that that I was given. But I will say about people pleasing, there's nothing wrong with being agreeable, being flexible, for the sake of work and your relationships and life situations. Like you're gonna have to flex. Sometimes you're gonna have to give. Like everything is an ebb and a flow, right? But if your flexibility prevents you from if it prevents you from being able to have what it is that that you need in order to continue to function, in order to continue to feel whole, then it doesn't really serve you. Like there's no benefit in you breaking yourself in order to complete other people's puzzles, right?
Mm,
There's just and I just feel like that's really what it ends up being, like that people pleasing thing of you like being like, oh, well, I'm not going to say how I feel in order to make sure that I don't make anybody feel uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, have the big idea. I'm not going to stretch myself. I'm not going to go for the gold in this particular area. And for whom? For what? You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be, again, let me be clear. Being flexible is not a bad thing. Being agreeable for, like again, for work and relationships, that's not a bad thing. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to you shrinking yourself and becoming smaller version of yourself in order to appease other people's comfort, and again, not for the sake of you not being, don't be rude. You don't have to be, you don't have to be hateful. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm being very
or
specific.
or do it.
Perhaps you do. You know what? Right. No. Going to hell. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going high.
Join
No, I'm
join
kidding.
me. Join me.
No. But yes, like, learning the skill of flexibility, and I do feel like it's a skill, like,
Mm-hmm.
it prevents life from breaking you because life is difficult, right? So again, it's important to be flexible, but not to your own detriment. So once
Yeah.
you have learned how to do that, everything else is, is beneficial to the in the and you come to a place where everything is beneficial to the people around you, but it's harmful to you, you're in a bad place. So
Yeah.
I've personally have really had to work on prioritizing my own voice, not even like in speaking, but in my own head. The things that I would say to myself, the stuff that I would, repeat to myself, and really prioritizing the confident voice and not the one that's afraid, not the one that's fearful, not the one that's like thinking about, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, not the worrying one, not those replays of what other people have put on me, but my own voice, the one that comes to me naturally and that I don't have to fight to, fight for. The one that, deserves that space, right? And deserves the platform and, and the spotlight sometimes to just be myself and to not be slowed down or weighted down by fear, worry, again, concern about what anybody else is going to, to think about something. Take in feedback, not saying that that's a bad thing. Take in the, the thoughts and feelings of the people who love you and who are celebrating you and who are there for you. But not everything deserves center stage in your mind and in your action of self. So, turning off that people pleasing, getting rid of that, and really understanding how to give myself the kind of love and acceptance that I've given to other people throughout my life. So giving myself that space to let go of people pleasing and once I have learned, well, I believe that once I really fully learn to stand in that, I'm already walking in it a little bit, but once I really fully learn to stand in that and live in that space, I think the people who are meant for me are going to find me, and everybody who benefits off of, the things that don't serve me but do serve them will fall off. And that's how I'm believing that is how my people are going to find me. My tribe is going to find me. My community is going to find me by me being able to be true to myself, being, honest about what I want, what I'm, the goals that I'm trying to accomplish and where I'm trying to go with my life. And, I think dropping off people pleasing is going to start me on that path. it has started me on that path already. So yeah,
I
that's
have
what I'm dropping off.
I have two things for that that
Hmm.
really resonated and brought some stuff up for me. The first thing is really simple, and this is what I tell, I guess I can call them my students technically, because every now and then I do workshops and teach people things. Is the affirmation that my people will find me. And
Yes.
this is something that I had to say to myself pretty early on in my doula journey and my education journey. My people will find me. Like if I
Hmm.
am staying true and authentic to who I actually am, if I know who that is, then the
Yeah.
people that I need to be around and the community that is supposed to support me, they'll find me. Clients will find me. Um, word will spread the way it needs to. It might take a little bit longer than I would have liked or that I expected because I'm looking out, kind of wasting time looking out at other people and what they have, but they'll find me eventually. And I need to
Hmm.
rest assured in that. So that was the first thing that came up. The second thing, when it comes to people pleasing, sometimes I think there's two camps when it comes to the reasons why people move into people pleasing, or maybe one is like tangential or like a little bit of an offshoot, maybe not an
Hmm.
entire basis for it. But I actually saw a post, um, this had to be months or years ago, that said that people pleasing can be a form of manipulation to keep people in your
Hmm.
lives. Um, because you're not saying the thing because you want to do whatever you can to appease them to keep them happy. It's
Yeah.
because you want to keep them there.
Yeah.
And so I would say really sit and examine why that is.
Hmm.
Why can't you show up as your authentic self? Why can't you, or is there space, or have they created the space for you to be vulnerable or really share what you're thinking? You
Hmm.
know, why is it that if there's conflict, you think they will flee? And so that might be
Mm.
another thing to explore as well. Not to say,
Yeah.
manipulation in this case is necessarily a bad thing, but that might be where it's stemming from.
Yeah.
And this isn't like to you directly, but just something for
Yeah.
folks to consider. You know, yes, we want to move away from that. And there's this other part of, has this person done what they could, or has the space been cultivated in a way where I can show up as my authentic self so that I can be vulnerable, so that I can, share my insights, so that I, don't have to stray or try and avoid conflict at all costs. Like, what else is
Hmm.
going on here that is throwing me into this people pleasing mode? And of course, we can always take it back to what's happened in your past that has, supported that skill or that concept, or that energy being super strong in you. We can always take it back to the past, but those are questions to consider.
Definitely. Definitely. And I feel like I would say for me, one thing, a space where I was really able to examine that, kind of was in my relationship. Why do you assume that you can't, just be honest and, and be full and, be frustrated if you're frustrated, to be angry if you're angry, be annoyed if you're annoyed, or whatever the case might be. But I, learned from having space to be able to do that in my relationship that, okay, it's fine because you are human. Number one, you're not perfect.
Hmm.
You're not you're not perfect. You are not ever going to be perfect.
That
And
needs to be on this list. That needs to be on
oh,
this list between one
perfectionism,
of us. Yes. Maybe
recovering
maybe season 3.
recovering perfectionist. We'll do the same episode, season 3. It's too soon to talk about that one. It's too soon. But yeah, but like getting away from that and like, for
Mm,
me, really understanding like you don't have to be perfect in order to be worthy of love and acceptance. And, and once, dispelling that and being able to say like, hey, you're worth it right here.
mhm.
Right here. You are worth the energy and the effort right here where you are. Doesn't mean that you, again, don't get better and that you don't improve, that you don't look at yourself, reflect, and then do better, in future scenarios, whatever those may be. But you're okay right here where you are. So now, after learning that and kind of like walking my own self through that process, I kind of feel like, oh, okay, these are other ways in which I've, done this and shown up in ways that hasn't been fair to me.
Mm.
In other spaces. So yeah, mostly work, but
A question just popped up for me.
okay.
Do you think for you, the people pleasing kind of stems from the fact that you're a black man in this country?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, certainly. I don't think everybody has had this conversation explicitly, but I had the conversation explicitly of like, you are, born with two strikes, black and a male.
Mm.
And so you already have those, those things against you. And, I've been able to kind of zoom out on that a little bit so I can see, a little more clearly what those, how those things show up and what they look like now. But, yeah, I had that conversation, relatively early on with, with my mom. And so, I definitely held that close to my chest, feeling like there were, it was just going to be difficult for me to be anything but agreeable,
Mm.
for me to be anything but malleable, for me to be anything
Mm.
but flexible, um, and submissive. I think to a, to a lot of, to some degree, um, and just kind of, I think being able to dispel that by growing up, I think I just took that into so many spaces in my life that it was difficult for me to really have like maybe not difficult, but it forced me to kind of reconcile some of my public image and what I pushed out to people,
Mm-hmm.
When having a romantic relationship, because it's like, oh, you're going to know things about me that nobody else
Yeah.
does, and I'm not sure how I feel about
Mm-hmm.
that. And so yeah, like having to think about that and reconcile those two spaces in my life, and in my presentation of self, in a lot of ways, made me kind of recognize like, whoa, something here doesn't match. And if it doesn't match, why are we existing in this way and in this space? And I fully believe in being authentic and being, trying to be, super honest. I'm very much an open book with people, but having to recognize that inconsistency is what made me realize like, oh, maybe you're not being authentic in all your spaces. Like if you're having to completely fragment, the way that you show up. And so yeah, like I think, last couple years of my life have really taught me that. Last couple years of adulting have really taught me how to show up in a way that felt real and felt honest, and and felt human to me, honestly, because I think a lot of ways I've just operated kind of in a very like, methodical way about life. And so working through it, working through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes,
Nice.
yes. Oh, that was a lot. This is the therapy, huh?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so
pretty
yes.
much.
All right, I'm stepping away from the mic. What about you? What's your next thing?
My next one, a thing that no longer serves me is like going against my own intuition or not
Mm,
trusting myself. I've gotten a big lesson about this throughout this entire year. It
mm.
This year has drained me. As as the videos on the Instagram
Not
say, today
Marlo.
drained me. Today
It
drained
drained
me.
me.
I just um but yeah, this year has been a big lesson in continue to trust yourself, and don't let what you would consider one, mistake be the end all be all of how you think about your decision making, and you listening to your gut and like actually taking the time and creating space so that I can listen to my gut, and what it's saying to me. it hasn't served me well when I've tried to go against my own grain. It's
Mm.
put me in some weird positions. And I just, what's the best way to say this? I don't know. It just is weird. So yeah, I'm definitely learning more about just trusting myself, what I need to make that happen, trusting that I will make the decisions that are right for me, trusting that I know what I'm doing,
Hmm.
trusting that I know what feels good to me and what doesn't feel good to me. And trusting that if I feel like something is out of balance, that I'll actually do something about it. Like I have all of these data points along, my years of life to suggest that I do make good decisions. And so why would I let a couple, you always remember the bad decisions, or you always remember the big critics in the audience or the negative comments,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
never, like, I need to take the time to focus on all the other data that suggests, Jade, for the most part,
Hmm.
you are a good person, you make good
Right.
decisions, like your gut has always kept you out of danger when you actually listen to it.
Yeah.
So don't let these few bad apples in your grocery store, you know, really dictate how you think about yourself or like whether or not you can trust yourself. So
Hmm.
I received that message 3 or 4 different times from different messengers each time throughout the course of this year alone. So I'm really trying to do what I can to like let go of the not listening to what my body's telling me and actually, really understanding, and this might sound weird, but when my intuition hits, my body reacts. And so instead of just like trying to blow that away, like I mean, it sounds a little woo woo. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm stepping into my hood hippiness. That's fine.
I like it.
Um, but my body does react when something feels off. When I know somebody's lying to me, I
Mm.
get some of the same spots in my body that light up. When I, am excited about something or am about to be steered down a really good path, I know what happens to my body, and
Mm.
like when that happens. For example, I live with a cat.
All
I
right.
don't own a cat because nobody owns cats. I live with a cat. And and she has been in my house for about 7 or 8 years now. Before getting her, I was not a cat person. I happened to go to a SPCA to do an orientation with my now ex-husband. I believe I told y'all that I am a cute divorcee. If I didn't, that's a whole other conversation for another podcast episode. But we were doing an orientation because we wanted to volunteer so we could continue to reconnect. And I happened to see her, and I fell in love instantly, but I was like, that's crazy. I don't like cats. I don't even know what to do with a cat. They just be in your house, walking on your stuff.
Hmm.
That's weird.
They do.
But but I obsessed over her for hours. I could not get her out of my mind. And despite every like my mind saying, part of my mind saying, that's crazy. You don't own cats. Like your family doesn't do cats. You're dog people. It's fine. Despite, all the rationalization that I had and like sitting in the front of my mind, my heart was saying, nah, there's something here. She's supposed to be yours. She's supposed to be in your life. And anytime I have made a really good decision that was going to change the course of my life, maybe I'm not gonna give her that much credit. She been cool. She been
Oh,
cool
right.
living in my house. It's
Yeah,
it's whatever. I'm not gonna big her up like that. Um, but anytime I have made like a really good decision or been on the precipice of like a really exciting time or a moment or, a season, I've had that same obsessive type feeling, and it sits in my stomach, but it's also in my heart. Anytime that someone has lied to me, or I felt
Mm.
really uneasy, it sits in my chest and in my throat. And so I know that my body's picking up on something, and I'm learning to really trust that. So what no longer serves me is not being tuned in to those body signals, to the signs that are there, to using my own decisions against myself and judging myself and not moving with compassion for myself. Like those things
Mm-hmm.
do not serve me. They keep me stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They, they, my therapist recently called it the lady in the attic. She's the one that screams down really mean things to you. The lady in the attic be on 10,000 sometimes when I'm not
Mm-hmm.
listening to myself, the other part of myself, the rest of the house. Um,
Yeah.
and so really letting that go and like locking the door as much as I can on her because she doesn't serve me. She keeps
Mm.
me from really tuning in and making, what could be some really life-changing decisions or delaying what is inevitably going to be mine. So that's that.
Oof, man, black women. Seriously, like actually, like I love that you brought that up because that was something that's just from my partner that I've just always really respected about her. She's always just been super clear on on what is working, what works for her and what doesn't work for her. And that's something that I've just always really admired. And I'm like, dang, how did you get there? Like,
Hmm.
you know what? But which is why it's so important that men like unlearn like, these rules around emotions and and emotional regulation and all of these things that they teach you about manhood to stop you from being yourself, but it also stops you from being in tune
Yeah.
and with yourself, with your star player, as Cat Williams would say.
Hmm.
And yeah, like yeah, so that's a really dope thing that you shared. I
Yeah.
appreciate
It's been interesting.
that. Yeah.
Letting go. So what's your next one?
Yes. So my next one is respectability. People say respectability politics, but respectability is the wet place I would like to start with that
Hmm.
one. So I have to, number one, admit that my own privilege in working in a profession or in a career that is more welcoming of personal identity and performance of professionalism has helped me to dispel some of that. I definitely
Hmm.
don't want to, try to act like, I just always knew, that
Right.
I always knew that, there was a better way or a more whole way, for to show up, in yourself, especially as a black man, to be able to show up whole and be able to show up as yourself. But growing up in the South, I feel like it's just baked into who we are. It's like it's just in there. Like they throw that thing in the cake early. Like as you starting to like just kind of growing up, feeling like, I mean, I know I might be aging myself here, but I grew up with like duck head and like like these kinds of very preppy clothing. Like I didn't learn what polo was till much later in life. But like this super preppy clothing and like, kind of like this, like this buttoned up and, way of presenting yourself and putting yourself together and, wanting to look a certain way. And it's important how you look. It's important that, you stay this way, you stay presentable, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Um, And I don't think there's anything wrong with, wanting to dress yourself nice, wanting to adorn yourself well. But at the core, where that comes from is a seed of respectability. That comes from a place of, I think, sometimes survival, but also our parents wanting to not be,
Absolutely.
seen a certain way, our grandparents not wanting their children to be seen a certain way. And I think the way that we've internalized that and the way that that has kind of come out is in respectability. And I just have to say, like, what I have learned is that respectability will not save you from white supremacy
That's so true.
and or all of its children, racism, patriarchy, featureism, colorism, all of these things. It is not going to save you from being judged. It's not going to save you from being treated in a certain way. And anybody who only respects your humanity based on how you perform it or how you show up, they didn't intend to respect you in the first place.
Say that
So,
again.
it, yes, rewind it. I don't,
Hmm.
I don't want to lose the authenticity, right? Anybody who can only respect your humanity based on how you show up and perform it for them, never intended to respect you in the first place. Right.
Mm.
And I really want people to get that, because this respectability stuff, like, number one, it, after being able to recognize it and call it out, it really is so frustrating because it completely, which along with racism and white supremacy, completely lacks logic and
Mm-hmm.
good rational sense. Like, there's nothing to that. And I think for me, it always just goes back to one of my own personal core beliefs that humanity deserves protection. Like, humanity deserves coverage. Your humanness is enough to to have you earn being treated well. And
Yep.
it's so frustrating to explain to people why you should care about other people, but it needs to be done.
Wild concept. Such a
Oh,
wild concept.
I mean, straight off of the backside of Mars,
Look, blow
because
me over with a feather. Okay.
because seriously,
Just
seriously, it is a wild thing. And it is so wild to think that it's not wild to think, because I completely blame white supremacy and all of its ugliness. But I really do hate that we are the ones who perpetuate that on one another. Like, we tell
yeah.
each other that you shouldn't do this. You
Yeah.
shouldn't act like that. And I mean, like, there's so many ways in which we duplicate oppressive systems. However, we are all still victims of said oppressive system.
Absolutely.
So, as to not get off track, respectability respectability is one of those things that you have to actively challenge, because again, it's baked into the cake, y'all. It's already in there. Even if you don't, you didn't grow up like me in the South, where like presentation and clothing and dress and all of those things were highly important. If you grew up anywhere where your parents would tell you, now don't act up in this white people's place, don't act
Mm-hmm.
up in front of these white people, like,
Don't touch these people's stuff.
right, these people stuff, as though you are not
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, it's wild stuff. And again, I also want to be very clear in acknowledging that I know that comes from a place of victimhood. I know that comes from a place of survival for a lot of older folks who have passed that down to younger folks. And also your responsibility to unlearn it, call it out, and challenge yourself on your own ways of thinking. Always consider your thoughts and how they give way to reinforcing white supremacist talking points, behaviors, and other forms of oppression. Just always think about it. Always be conscious of it. There is not a single reason that anybody deserves something that has happened to victimize them based off of how they look, how they speak,
Mm-hmm.
or what they do, where they are. Outside of the actual act happening, decontextualizing by taking away these little tickers of like, oh, well, then that's why that happened to you. No,
Right.
it happened because somebody decided to do it. And
Right.
that's the only reason. And I see that happen so much. I see so many people, especially, like we have so much access to public figures and, in their lives and et cetera now. And we can use a lot of those. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, good.
Oh, yeah. And we can use a lot of those as like the examples through which we can kind of, unlearn some of those pieces. But even if you get beyond that, to your day to day, fight the urge to question somebody about, what they're wearing, about why they're doing such things, because there are so many ways that we enact harm on one another from these oppressive ideals that we don't even realize that we are doing the work of white supremacy for them.
Yeah.
And that's
because
what,
I mean, that's how the system,
Yeah.
they've gotten it to a point where that's how the system is designed. So
Absolutely.
I don't have to, if I am the oppressor, I don't have to do as much because you're doing it for me.
Right.
You can be oppressed and be an oppressor at the same time.
Absolutely.
You can. With how
Absolutely.
it's set up, there is a ladder. Let's not even kid ourselves. And so, it did its job. It's the ultimate pyramid scheme.
Yep. The ultimate pyramid scheme. Absolutely. I'll have to say that. And I'll be talking about this all day, but that's such a big thing to me. And again, our self-work, what we do, what you contribute to the community is unlearning this stuff. Drop it off. Like Jade said earlier, that is not yours. That is something that was
Mm.
given to you, but you don't have to take it. As old Coach Stormy would say, that's very low vibrational of you.
Oh no, you do not invoke my name on this podcast. How dare you?
And we can get into something. Ooh, that could be a whole nother conversation. Ooh, sheesh. But yeah. So yes, y'all drop off that respectability stuff. Like, get rid of that and stop, and stop regurgitating that stuff. All right.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
I
hold
know
your
it's
mouth
hard.
closed before you say it. It is hard. It's really difficult
It's
to do, but you
hard.
have to interrogate it for yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like what you said about, like, if it wasn't going to be one thing, it's going to be another. It's just like a
Right.
list of things that they were going to ding you for. If
Right.
if it's not the fact that I'm wearing a bonnet, it's the fact that I'm laughing too loud, or the fact that I'm taking up, more room on a seat than they're comfortable with. It just, when does it stop? I
Right.
happen
It
to be
doesn't.
Black. I happen to need a bonnet. I happen to, be in a bigger body. You were going to ding me for one of these.
Right. There
So
was just no way to win, and there's no way for you to
no way to
for you to
win,
beat
right?
that system, or for you to outsmart it. It's designed to not accept you.
The only way to win is to not be here.
And that's what they counting on.
Right.
For us to
That's
make
not
you
an option for
miserable
me.
enough. No.
That's not an option for me.
No.
So
not at all. I got stuff
y'all need
to
to
do.
figure it out.
Stuff to do and people to liberate.
Okay.
So no. That's not an option. So, letting that go and getting rid of that. So, rolling on to the next one for you, Jade. What is your next drop off thing? Then you drop it in the Dropbox.
Yeah, my next one, something that no longer serves me is downplaying what I've done or how I've contributed to a space. And I feel like I do this a lot. Instead of just taking up the room that I actually need to take up. I have this funny way about me where, I'll want to do something or embark on a thing. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't have a lot of experience. I haven't done much. And, eventually I'll sit down and be like, Jay, do you actually know who the F you are and what you've done? Like, why does it take, this one pivotal moment for me to sit back and realize everything that I've contributed to a space or everything I've done for someone or for a space when I could just do that on a rolling basis? So I really want to let go of that. Y'all know I am one for stories. So for this one, it this connects to my dance and movement stuff. Like, I have been in pole dancing spaces it's been since like 2014. Oh, that's a long time. And of course, over time, not of course, but over time, things have evolved and changed. I do more low flow, like low to the ground. I call myself a bottom feeder because I like to stay on the ground. And that's my comfort. That's my comfort. Like, I like to work around the base and, the wall and all that stuff. Anyway, so that's to speak to the evolution of that thing. But I was recently checking out a post, and one of my friends, and I'm so proud of her, she's actually going to be opening up a pole studio. It's too far away from me for that to be a consistent thing that I go to and do. But, on the occasion that I am able to pop up there and just support, absolutely going to do that. But she, put out a call for instructors to send in their resumes. And teaching is one thing that I have been trying to quote unquote break into, ask for mentorship from some folks, and that did not pan out, / I was ignored. That's another conversation for another time. And so, and, tried to go it on my own, and, it just wasn't gelling like I wanted it to. And it wasn't successful right away. So, okay, put that down for a second. And seeing the post about the resumes, I said, you know what? I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to just try a thing. And in order to try the thing, next time I see, an open call for instructors to send in resumes, I need to actually make sure that I have my resume ready. but what am I going to put on this resume? Because I haven't done anything. I'm not a teacher. Like, when have
Mm,
I? Da, 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 da. I don't have a lot of performances. Blah 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 blah. I've only taken all these trainings and certifications, but that doesn't count for anything. So I finally said, you know what? Stop the BS. Just put together a resume, and just make it as good as it can be with the stuff that you have on it, and be proud of that, and have it ready, so you like stay ready so you don't have to get ready in the
right.
moment that this happens again. And when I tell you that when I finished that resume, the entire thing was filled out top to bottom, barely
Ooh.
any space for anything else. And if I had not taken the time to reflect and step back and do that, I would not have acknowledged the different ways that I have shown up in this space, the different ways that I have taught, when I've performed. Like, I've actually made contributions to this space in ways that I wasn't giving myself credit for. And so I don't want to do that anymore. I want to acknowledge stuff in the moment. I want to recognize I'm in this space. I'm not a guest in this space. I'm, not waiting for an invite. I
Mm,
do this.
yeah.
And, really taking stock of where else am I keeping myself small, or, for fear of whatever, for fear of being too big or too loud, or whatever in other spaces, then I'm not truly acknowledging what I'm actually bringing to the space.
Mm,
I feel like I've gotten better about not doing that. Actually, I've gotten really good about not doing that when I'm at work, because I'm always like, I need people to know what I've done, and I need to make sure it's top of mind so that I can ask for more resources. Because what you won't do is
yeah.
shortchange me.
I know
Not in the
that.
workspace. But
Yeah.
in other areas, I'm like, Jade, how could you? How could you do this? How could
Mm-mm.
you not realize how much you've contributed, or how you've shown
Mm,
up, or that you have participated in this community in a meaningful way? And that, like, I put workshops that I had created on my own and put up there, and completely forgot about those. That's no small thing. And so I was blown away. I was blown away at my inability to like really piece it together until now, and blown away at the fact that I've been doing that for quite some time, like not recognizing how much I've contributed. And I don't want to do that anymore, because, it has me walking around here thinking I'm not interesting. And I'm
mm.
actually pretty interesting. I'm actually pretty interesting when I think about it. But I downplay that so much. I'm like, oh man, my friends are out here doing all these great things. My cousin's out here doing all these great things. I wish I could do some great things. Girl, what are you talking about?
Yes.
What are you talking? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't just run of the mill stuff. And even if it was,
Hmm.
the fact that it's me doing it is still a contribution and a God-given gift to this world. So relish in that. Own that, acknowledge that. Don't ever forget that these are your contributions. And it might be, slightly similar to what someone else is doing, but the difference is you. Nobody can do it like you do it. So own that part.
Hmm.
Even if it does kind of look the same, except for the color scheme, who cares? The difference is you, your
Yeah.
energy, and everything that you've brought, and your different set of experiences will add a new layer and perspective that the other person, that the other concept might not have. So, it doesn't serve me to play small, to forget all of the cool
Hmm.
stuff that I've done. It
Hmm.
doesn't serve me. I'm gonna let that go.
Mm.
That's it.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I feel like I'm preaching. I feel
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
preaching.
I'm gonna call you butter because you're on the roll. Right. I could not agree more, could not second it more, and I won't take up take up more space not being able to make that better. All right. So I presume I'm closing it out. This is my last
Yes.
one. All right, so this is my last one. For me, excessive self-criticism.
Mm.
Obviously, looking at yourself and working on yourself is a necessity in order for you to grow and you to become your best self. However, if that becomes excessive, that can lead you to not trust yourself, not believe in
Yes.
your own magic, your own gifts, your own talents and abilities. Your own things that give your special little sauce to the world. They give you, to sprinkle your special thing on it, like you just literally said. Like, pause.
Special sauce.
No, I meant like,
Spread your special sauce on the world,
oh
guys.
Lord. All right. Well,
Sprinkle it.
I was thinking parsley, not sauce.
Sauce drops.
Oh no. No. Said the sex educator.
Hey.
Ew. Do you remember that from the game?
Yes.
He would do that all the time.
Oh, RIP to that relationship.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was very sad about that. But we digress.
Yeah.
So yes. So the excessive self-criticism, again, it just leads you not to trust yourself. And that leads you to not also make good decisions for yourself in the future, because you're so afraid of making mistakes, of dropping something or doing something wrong. Doing something wrong helps you learn. Making mistakes helps you learn how to figure out how to not do it that way in the future. It's okay to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect in order to be worthy of good things to happen to you, for good things to come your way. So drop off all of that excessive self-criticism, put down that negative self-talk. When give it the old classic Black parenting staple, the no, I'm not doing that. Pop, to give you a little hand pop. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to talk myself out of another opportunity. I'm not going to let myself down from doing something because either I haven't done it or maybe I don't know quite sure if I can be great at doing it. Who's to know until you find out? All right.
Until you find out, until you try. Fun fact, that is actually that was the impetus, or part of the impetus for us starting this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were so, when we initially talked about it, one of the things that came up for both of us is we don't want to be canceled.
We did talk about that.
And we wanted it to be perfect right out the gate, and we wanted, and we almost, luckily we talked through it together, but we could have potentially missed out on an opportunity to collaborate and work together if we hadn't pushed past that excessive self-criticism that we both had about just putting ourselves out there in the world a little bit more.
Yeah. Absolutely. And look at us now, encouraging you.
Look at us now. Don't be like us. Do the things.
Right. Do the things, put the stuff out there, no matter what happens. It doesn't matter if somebody else loves it, if somebody hates it. Did you like it? Did it make you feel good? Did it make you feel lighter? Put it out there and let it be what it is. Let the joy of whatever it is that you do come from the fact that you did it and nothing else.
Unless it's fueled by hate, then don't do that.
Well, there's that. There's always that caveat. Look, we can go ahead and say that's going to always be the caveat for our show. We're not encouraging you to go and do some rude, nasty, hateful things to people in any capacity, whether that's leaving a comment or, doing a larger scale crime. So, yeah, we ain't going to never tell you to do that. But, everything that you do in your own areas of critique and, and self-inspection and, and reflection on self, nothing is wrong with reflection, but again, when it gets to be too much, be kind to yourself. Even if you are telling yourself no, you can be kind. You don't have to drag yourself in order to say no. Be like, you ragged. You don't have to do that.
This is why nobody like you, because you don't know what you be talking about. Like, wait a minute, can you just say no, please?
It was just an idea.
No.
I was just thinking about going to the gym.
Stop.
Yeah. Exactly. So yes, that is my word. Be kind to yourselves. Like I have put that on the Monday motivation post for our Instagram page, which I need to go and follow, and share and like. Yes, we have put that out there time and time again. Be kind to yourself. It does not benefit you. The world is hard enough. You don't have to be hard with yourself. Be kind, be nice, even if you are having to say no. Reflect on yourself, critique yourself where necessary, and also give yourself grace. Yes.
That's a word.
Woo! Caca.
R.I.P.
the real. Caw.
Bird noise, bird
Um,
noise.
so yes, that is it for this week's Family Feud. I hope you all love this conversation, and we will be right back.
Welcome back, fam. So let's get into these love letters. And if you remember, love letters is the segment where we, say if love is accountability, then here's where we show our love by discussing the matters that we need to address and then grow from. Because, what doesn't get addressed gets amplified. So this is where we've landed after the feud, and this is how we're going to move forward and do better. I do not have a love letter for this episode, but I'm going to turn it over to Gant because I know he's got a word for us.
Not a word. That's funny. All right. So, well, my love letter this week is to self. I hope that we all make an effort to love ourselves in ways that intentionally overthrow and dispel anything that society, your parents, your school, your job teaches you to hate about yourself and the people around you. I just think that we are all worthy of kindness and we are all worthy of love. And I think if we gave ourselves more of that and ourselves more development in that space, I think we will be able to be kinder to each other and we'd be able to give that out a little bit more. So that's my love letter for this week. Be kind to yourself and also be kind to the people around you. It doesn't take a whole lot, maybe some restraint, but not a whole lot to be kind and to love on yourself and others.
Nicely said.
Good job. Okay.
All right. Well, that's our love letter segment. So let's go ahead and close it out with our favorite cousins for the week.
Yep. All right. So it has been a while. So we're going to refresh you on this. Our favorite cousin is what we talk about every episode. So we are always going to have a favorite cousin, which is something that we love or something we want to give their flowers because they made us happy. They made us think. They made us act. Or simply because, it's Black excellence. So Jade, what is your favorite cousin this week?
So technically it's 3 people. I'm going to call them my holy mental health trinity. It's shout outs. My favorite cousin this week goes to my therapist, my professional coach, and my spiritual coach. I'm calling her my spiritual coach. I don't know if she knows this yet, but we've had 2 readings together. So in my book, she mine. These 3 women, all women of color, 2 out of 3 being Black women, have really supported me in being able to get to the point where the things that I listed and, the part about what no longer serves us in the family feud, they have supported me in getting to those points and really examining how those things show up in my life, how they've impacted me, how, they've impacted my relationships, and how I'm showing up in the world or not showing up in the world. And just really want to give a shout out to them. Sometimes all 3 of them act as messengers for the same message. They don't know each other. They have I actually don't even know if they know of each other or the fact that I have, all of them in my life. But this year has really shown me that I needed them to walk this part of the journey with me, or at least, guide me or, put up the signs like, oh yeah, you go girl, or whatever. I don't know. But it's just, they've been really helpful and given me the space to think and encouraged me to have more compassion for myself. And also, sometimes gave me a low key drag when I needed it because I wasn't being compassionate with myself. And yeah, there's something about when other women, even though I'm paying these people, when other women create space for you to come into your Black womanhood in ways that you weren't thinking about, it's just a beautiful thing. And so they are helping continue to propel me into the person I was meant to be and all the different ways that I was meant to show up in this world, and all the cool and interesting things that I'm supposed to be doing. And, finally acknowledging those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to them, my therapist, my professional coach, and my spiritual coach. My trinity of mental health professionals or support. Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a little Trinity.
They cover they cover the personal, professional, and then the spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit with the U.
Mm-hmm.
Say so that the spirit.
The spirit. Mm-hmm. I feel you. I feel you. See,
yes.
That's the way we talk. I just love us for real. It's always going to be shout out to Black people out here. I saw like today the video of I believe it was Keke Palmer and Yvette Nicole Brown? Yes, from Password. Keke Rose. I have to find it and send it to you. I have to find it and send it to you. First of all, it is hilarious.
Toy? I don't know.
I have to send it to you. It's hilarious.
I feel like I would do a good job. No, I would not do a good job on Password. My mind blocks up when I'm put on the spot and trying to play games.
That's true. I'm not good.
But when I'm not in the hot seat, I'm like, oh, well, you should have said this, girl. Well, where was that energy when you were up here? Yeah,
everything. Yes, Family Feud. I got all the answers. Yes, I got the top 5 right here from Behind My Island. I got it. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was doing.
That brings
I have to send you that. I have to send you that. But it's such a Black moment of them like having this realization, and the Yvette being like, I don't think I'm gonna get it right. You gon' get it right.
Keke Palmer is so intense, and I love her so much. Oh, Lauren.
Yes. Okay, so you know what? Shout out to Keke Palmer. She's my honorary favorite cousin.
Yes.
But my actual favorite cousin is country Black people on the internet. Just shout out to y'all just because TikTok has really allowed so many people to have platform and to have reach that they may not have otherwise had, and like just seeing the rise of just country Southern Black people being very Black, separately very Southern and very funny. And their retelling of everyday life is just hilarious to me. Specifically, I believe her handle is Gigi LaFleur.
I love her so much.
Man, she's hilarious.
Geraldine, I love her. Did you see the cast iron skillet one? I posted that.
She's hilarious. I just and so specifically her being on the shout out, and I'm sure that, and I know that there are definitely other people, but I just can't think of them right now. The handle just came to me. That's why I went ahead and said it, because I was going to forget.
I love me some Gigi LaFleur.
Oh man, she's hilarious, and from New Orleans.
And then when she wanted to, so country, that accent is thick, and I love it. She reminds me of our aunts.
Yes, country Black people on the internet, please continue doing what you are doing. We love you. We appreciate you. And, continue being yourself and being your whole self where you can.
Yes.
All right.
Love it.
So it appears that that's it for us this week.
Yep. So, hey fam, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Good Black Podcast. We hope this episode encourages you to drop off a few things of your own that don't serve you. And, please make sure to find us on all the socials at The Good Black Pod. That's at TheGoodBlackPod on all the socials. And please share the show with a friend if this episode was helpful to you. As always, we appreciate y'all for listening.